welcome to another video. In today's video, this is a big giant video about all kinds of stuff. Chapter 1, the history of policing. Chapter 2, my entire criminal record. And Chapter 3 is 15 years of police harassment. 2, I forgot some things. So let's kick this video off with a question. And go ahead and stop the video, put your answer down there in the comment section. As you know right now, what is the largest theft, the largest subsection of theft in this country currently? Okay, I'm not going to go through and name all the different kinds of theft. So, all right, you have your answer down there? Perfect. Okay, so here is the real answer.
That wage theft affects 17% of low-wage workers. Affected workers were losing an average of $3,300 per year. That means the amount of money stolen from workers far exceeds what's stolen in actual property crimes, like robberies and car theft. Wage theft predominantly affects low-wage workers.
All right, so let's remember that for a little later. So the history of policing in America, going back to when things really started needing policing, from the way things were going, and it actually, there's two kind of separate origins of policing. Okay, so you have the Southern origin, which the origin of Southern policing is found in slave catchers. So plantation slave owners hired guys to go hunt their escaped slaves. Then those guys became the police. Okay? So now that's the Southern development of policing. And then we have the Northern development of policing, which evolves from people having more stuff than they could physically watch themselves, basically. So you had initially gangs of migrants would come to, would be robbing somebody, right? They'd go into like a guy's warehouse or a store or whatever, and they'd rob him over and over and over again. And then the guy finally would just hire them to not rob him. Okay, so then those people kind of developed into like security guards. But then in 1850-ish, we have our very first official police station in New York City. Now, before that, we had a system of sheriffs. And today, sheriffs and police, although they do have some unique duties, are for all intents and purposes the same. They have the same training, they have the same equipment, they operate on the same frequencies, like radio communications, all that. Okay, they're for all intents and purposes, in modern America, a sheriff and a police officer are more or less identical. Back before the adoption of police, the sheriff system that was around the United States And it even goes back to England, although England's sheriff system and the United States sheriff system are nothing alike. So back then, it was, a sheriff, maybe a sheriff and a deputy or two, depending on the area. And they were elected officials. And if they needed more people, they would deputize citizens. And that's how it went for quite a while, until the 1850s. Okay? So now the 1850s started, and this whole idea of policing started to spread around. Well, we got pretty much almost immediately with the Civil War was a giant need for policing, because the losers, not all of them, a good amount of them, went on crime sprees after the Civil War. So in response to that, there was a lot of police development, okay? So, and the police development along in the South actually just took a shift and just went right back to basically slavery with Jim Crow laws, and the police then were the ones implementing this, okay? Now, just to make it quite clear, the civil rights of the 50s and the 60s, that was civil rights from the police. That's who people needed civil rights from. The police were the people. So we're talking about 100 years that it took for the police to go from, relatively obscure, watching people's stuff, to all the way to nearly like religious, implementing of laws, like morality police, especially if you were any sort of immigrant or homosexual. I mean, it's quite recently that police would go into gay bars and just beat up everybody for being gay. That is not very far back in the past. Okay? Now, as policing has evolved, I think I'm in Oregon, and Oregon got a big transfusion of losers from the South, from the Civil War, came to Oregon, literally wrote KKK stuff right into the Constitution of Oregon. That's all since been removed, I'm pretty sure. But, so that is Oregon's policing, in my opinion, is derived more from the South than the North, because of the time and the influx. It just happened that way. So, now, we can see the original policing in the North was people with money paying for the police, okay? So, nowadays, we spend all this money on the police, and there's a lot of problems that we have in society currently that pretty much are the only kind of solutions that we could possibly have, unfortunately, is the police. Now, as we've seen in Iraq, when you just let go all the police and military, they turn into ISIS, okay? So the goal is to create a society that doesn't need police, criminal doesn't have criminals, doesn't need police, okay? Every single person in a jail cell, every single homeless person is an indictment of how broken our system is. Because technologically speaking, it was the best we could do. As we get better technology, we can do a lot better. But we have to start working towards this to make it happen. And part of this is defunding the police a little bit, taking some of this like militarized level policing out. I mean, obviously not completely, but a little bit from that end of the policing. So less militarized policing, right? And we transfer that money into mental health to kind of try to replace the system, a new, better system that was completely just trashed in the 80s by the Reagan regime, okay? So unfortunately, nothing got put back into place, and the police have been dealing with that ever since, okay? And crime has been getting worse ever since, right? It's probably directly follows the same trend lines, I would imagine. So, but as we can see, the number one crime is rich people stealing from poor people. You never hear about this because it is not very entertaining to watch on the news some rich accountant fudge some numbers. But oh boy, that homeless person goes into a pharmacy and loads his backpack full of toiletries and just ignores security and walks out. Oh boy, that sure is entertaining to watch, isn't it? And oh boy, it sure is. That crime is so big. Well, you know, I would venture to say that we don't have the police to go after the people that are doing the biggest crime by design. And if the biggest crime was not the biggest theft, wage theft, if this biggest crime was not a thing, then I would argue that all this other petty theft wouldn't be a thing. I mean, it's cause and reaction. People go to work, they get ripped off, they know they're getting ripped off. People watch the banks trash the whole economy and nobody goes to jail. And the reason is because we've invested our whole entire mindset into this whole that this policing needs to be watching in just one direction. Like, we don't have police watching the police or really the rich people. So, and it's quite convenient that the originators of the police and the whole theory of the police were the rich people, right? So, the problems need to be solved. We have a massive issue with police intellect. Okay, and they discovered this back in the 70s. You know, I mean, it's like, oh, the civil rights era. Hey, police are out of control, which is why we needed civil rights from the police. Don't get that messed up. It was the civil rights from the police and or the government, okay? And the government via the police. That's why we needed civil rights. Then, about 20 years later, they're like, why we had all these problems? Oh, turns out cops were below average intelligence. And they discovered this in the 70s, and they've been working on that ever since. But they straight up will not hire police if their intellect is too high because they're worried about them getting bored at their job. Well, there's the other side of that maybe if we had really smart cops, that they'd be going after the biggest kind of crime, that's stealing the most money from the most people, right? Wage theft, right? So that's where the real big crime is, and that would take a real smart person to figure that out and to solve that problem. Well, guess who they don't have in the police departments? Real smart people. At best, the IQ of officers is around 100, give or take, by design. Not high enough to go after the people stealing the most money. So, this is the problem. This is a real problem, right? We have civil forfeiture. We have prohibition laws. We have the prohibition crowd. We would not have the Federal Bureau of Investigation if we had never outlawed alcohol. That is what the federal government had to come up with to clean up the crime spree created by their outlawing of a substance. Oh gee, fast forward 50 years, now we have Nixon.
We have launched an all-out offensive against crime, against narcotics, against permissiveness in our country.
The rhetoric of get tough and law and order was part and parcel of the backlash of the civil rights movement.
Nixon administration official has admitted that the war on drugs is all about throwing black people in jail. He said, quote, "The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people." You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black. But by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did.
Right here, saying, go after liberals and Jews and blacks with the drug war. We know that was their intent. We know that the original prohibition in 1902 was a racist thing. In 1903, the second one. Okay, and then we had alcohol prohibition that turned this country upside down, created the biggest gangs and violent organizations this country had ever seen. And don't get it messed up, that was because of prohibition. Now, some would argue, oh, there was a huge drinking problem. Okay, fine. Guess what dumb people do about problems? They outlaw it and they sick guys with guns on the problem. Here's what smart people do with problems of substances: awareness campaigns, education, telling people what this does to their body, how it does it to their body, encouraging people to live a more healthy lifestyle, okay? And guess what? That way doesn't end up in these huge violent gangs. But now they've done this rinse and repeat with the drug war. And holy mackerel, they have been dubbed like alcohol prohibition was only like 10 years. They've been on this same drug war for 50 years. And the drug war was started by a guy who had to bail out of office for being a criminal. And we keep doing this because the intellect, and we're like feeding some strange cult of people who think that putting people in cages and blaming substances for everything is like a good way, right? Like in an intelligent way of dealing with people and substances, you don't give them less time for their bad actions on, oh, you did something bad while you were high? What the hell's wrong with you? Yeah, that's even worse. But no, in this, if you just, oh yeah, it was the drugs that made me do it. Oh, it was the alcohol that made me do it. If you use that shit as a scapegoat, you're now going to get less time. Therefore, you're just lying to reinforce the BS that is all based on racism and political. I mean, we straight up, Nixon, I want to go after liberals, Jews, and blacks. And that's why we have the drug war on crack. The shit was outlawed before that, but they sure in the hell weren't doing this, what they're doing now. Feel free to look up what this has become. Civil forfeiture, just everyday people getting their stuff jacked from them. This is what policing has become. We wouldn't have the FBI. We wouldn't have the DEA if we didn't have a government that thought prohibition was a way of dealing with stuff. If we had an intellectual government that was, well, intellectual and simply said, you know, if you drink too much booze, you will freaking die a horrible death. You can drink moderation, have a nice life, and rinse and repeat for every damn substance, then we would not have gangs. We would not have an entire, from Central America being a whole entire shit show because of our stupid ass laws. Okay? So this is what this has become. All right? From basically slave owners needing some people to go chase down their slaves to and then from rich guys needing their stuff to get watched, all the way to just no freaking civil rights and a crazy police state with police that are just literally out of control, stealing people's stuff, harassing people online, harassing people endlessly. I mean, it has become insane and needs to be reeled in, because the real crime isn't what those people are dealing with. Why are we paying all this money and we never get justice on the people who are doing the biggest criminal acts? 2008, big banks, trash the economy. Nobody goes to jail because nobody's smart enough to go after them. Now, currently, same story. Now it's the wages. That's straight up, because you know what? They're like, yeah, the cops are A, too busy sitting on their asses looking on Craigslist like they're doing something. B, being, gobbled around to do like things that they should never have been assigned to do, like mentally ill people, okay? And then being empowered to go and just steal people's stuff through all these prohibition style laws, okay? So, this is the true history of policing. Period. Proof evidence. Okay, so now stay tuned for part 2. All right, let's just start from the beginning. 14 years old. Giant nothing burger. Menacing. Basically, you could look at it this way. By the time I was 14, life had been not great with education, sleep, diet, and this just culminated. And I was seriously sick and tired of being messed with. I mean, for no reason, right? I mean, and the biggest thing I remember from this whole situation was the cop was so freaking like, or one of the cops rather, was so like, just out of, like, I just almost wrecked my car, this whole thing. And it was like, the whole scene was long, not long, but done like 5 or so minutes, like on my way to school. So, and I think this actually was my mom poking at me, trying to get me to enact the same thing when my dad's girlfriend was messing with me on my grandfather's birthday. I was trying to get my homework done. I told a whole video about this, okay? Long story short, I was, she was just, so it devolved into a whole scene that my mother showed up in the middle of, and then took the side of my dad's girlfriend and just left me there. So now I'm living with and I, like my diet with what they were feeding me. I mean, it was like I was getting fat. So definitely a giant nothing burger. Okay? It was like an argument. So let's go to 16 years old. All right? And mind you, I didn't find out the full scope of this completely bullshit story until I was 27 years old, okay? So at 16, I had which girlfriend, fuck buddy would probably be a better term, right? But she was like my first ever fuck buddy, right? And it was this chick I worked with. She was 19, I was 16. We had hung out on this rafting trip, and I was driving. And then she came down and hung out on this friend of mine's speedboat, right? Ski boat, rather. And then we banged that evening. And then back at work, like, a few days later, she, because, like, I got drunk, she got drunk, and I got really drunk. Like, I barely remember anything from that first time, right? And so I just honestly didn't remember. She's like, how long are you going to... And I'm like, man, I don't really remember anything. She's like, well, we'll do it again, basically, was her thing, right? So she was coming over to my house, where on a houseboat. I think my mom's husband, second husband, had already left, I think. So she's coming down there right into my bedroom. And she has me tying her up and spanking her per her request from like the first time or the second time we ever banged, right? So we banged like 5 or 6 times, I think, over like 2 or 3 months-ish, okay? Now, we're hanging out at the same buddy's place that has the boat. I go into the bathroom to take a shit. Come back out, they're banging in the living room. I'm like, whoa. So I make myself a drink and start drinking. She says, hey, come on over. Okay. Everything's fine for the next, like, all night long, literally. And I had to go to school. So I left early, left them there, went to school. My mom dropped me off at school. I turned around, got right on a TriMet bus, and came right back. And she was gone. And I tried getting a hold of her. And I got fired from work. And I'm sitting down at my buddy's house one day, and these detectives show up. And there's 2 of them, and they separate us. And one asks, like one cop's with Doug and one cop's with me. When this is all done, the cops say, this is a direct quote, sounds like a good time went to shit, don't ever talk to her again. What the? at that moment, zero know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the Well, turns out, let's paint the picture of Polly, the girl. She lived at home with her mother and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was like early 20s. She was 19. He was heavily zit, big, huge, all everywhere. Nice guy. I'd met him a few times before. And then the mother. The mother was like, my impressions of her, because I had met her a few times, because we had worked together for like over a year at this video rental place, right? It was like she was a mean lady, right? So basically, the 19-year-old girl goes home, and to get out of just being honest, she makes up this lie, which again, I didn't find out until I was 27 years old. What she actually said: forced rape with a handgun. What? Are you effing kidding me? What? Like, holy, so I was 16 all the way to 27, right? Does that get erased out of the record? No. I'm in jail for weed, basically, at 27, and the one of the jail lady people, so tell me about the forced rape with a handgun. I'm just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never been questioned about that in my life. Can you give me some more information? How old, Well, So, just absolutely insane that a 16-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 30-year-old, okay? And the 30-year-old, I shouldn't even been on that houseboat mortgage as a kid. There was literally rules against children being on that houseboat mortgage, but because my mother's second husband was such a selfish asshole, he just was like, to the whole houseboat community, and he moved in my little brother, and then I moved in, and then an entire other family of kids moved in, and all these people that wanted to be kid-free because this selfish individual forced kids into their situation. And it's not only them, but there was people that children shouldn't have been hanging around down there with. Like, this dude got me drunk at 13 years old and sent me onto an island to go hunt down these girls that turned out to be girls that I went to junior high school with. I mean, yeah. So, and drinking at his place was like, he would just play stupid, and I would make my own drinks. She would make her own drinks, and yeah. So, yeah, what do you do? Right? Just having a good time. All right, now, when I was 18, me and my buddy Scott, on our way to Seaside, Oregon for spring break. We had rented a room at the Shiloh, and which is right here. I'll zoom in and do some stuff on that here in a sec. And we had to take a bus. And it was a very slow bus that went way out of the way to get there. Okay? So we got there, and we checked into our room. And our room was connected via a non-accessible balcony. So if you stepped over the railing of your room, you could walk all the way on this roof of, I think the restaurant was underneath, and go up to the edge, and the cruising was happening all right here. Cruising was big, right? And you could literally just stand on the roof and look down. I saw people doing this, right? So that's where our room was. Now, there was no pagers or cell phones at this point. Or no, I think I actually did have a pager, to be honest. Yeah, I had a pager. But then for Scott, he did not have a pager. Then he would have to go find a payphone, page me, and then wait at the payphone for me to then go find a payphone and then call him back, right? So basically, we got separated somehow. I mean, it was packed. There was just people everywhere. And I think we had some booze on the bus, and we were drinking on the way there, right? So we get separated. We check in the room, probably drink some more. Then we go. We're out on the freaking cruising area, hanging out, walking around, get separated. Then I don't know how much time transpires, but I'm walking back into the main entrance for the hotel. And Scott is sitting on like the couch in the lobby with all our stuff packed up. And I'm just like, what the fuck did you do, man? What? And he's like, man, there was just blah, 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 blah. But before he has really a chance to tell me what's going on, the security guard comes up. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you kicking house for? And he just immediately tries to put his fucking hands on me, right? And all I do is just don't let him put his fucking hands on me, right? It's like this dude is coming at me like I've done something. I have a room there. I don't know anything of what's going on at that moment, okay? So I do this, right? And I'm like, fuck. So I just turn, the door wasn't far away. I turn, I go down the door, and I believe there's like some steps maybe I went down. Maybe not. I might have just gone out. But I'm like going out. Now, no cops have been called. Nobody's yelling, nothing. I am running out of the front of the building. That's it. 2 cops see me and do this number. Bam. 1 cop gives the other cop like a black eye or bloody nose or fat lip or something in the process. I don't even know they're there. Nobody else stopped. Nobody else nothing. I'm just coming out of this building because I just had a fucking security guard try to fucking grab me for I don't know what reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have done nothing. Okay, now what had happened? There was a fucking party in our room. People had gone on the balcony, gone up. Apparently, we left our sliding door open maybe or whatever. And they were in our room, like, stealing our stuff. Scott walks in on them. I find this out, like, days later, okay? And so then the security just kicks us out. Like, and that's because Scott's there and this big party's in the room. I don't know why Scott wasn't able to communicate to them. These people are in our room lawfully, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, why he was, but that's what happened. And I don't know any of this. I just see my stuff packed up and Scott sitting in there waiting. And then a security guard come at me, right? So I just fucking run. 2 cops see me. 1 cop blackens the other cop's face, okay? And they start lying. Okay? They say I they say I did. Like, they said that I was how whatever damage was done to the other cop was done for me. Okay? Which I didn't even know they're there. I'm just running out of the front of this place and all of a sudden they're fucking tackling me. Okay? Not like stop, police, nothing. So now I'm being fucking charged with assaulting a fucking cop. So I go from spring break, having a good time, people breaking into my fucking room, getting me kicked out of my room, unbeknownst to me. Now all of a sudden I'm wanted in jail for assaulting a cop that I didn't fucking assault. Never have I assaulted a cop. Ever have I ever tried to assault a cop ever in my entire fucking life. But because of some piece of shit ass cop in Seaside, Oregon, lying, that shit's on my fucking record. Because cops are fucking liars. Period. How the fuck? You know what I'm saying? So we break, you know what I'm saying? It's just horseshit. So I literally give my first ever $1,000 in life to a fucking lawyer that is also the part-time federal court judge there in fucking Seaside. And this is how I have the shittiest opinion of the criminal justice system in the United States from 18 years old. Because I sat there and gave this dude $1,000, told him the truth. He didn't give a fuck. The court bullshit proceedings was like he went into a room with another fucking judge or whatever. I mean, it was just the fucking zero justice, zero reality, fucking fascist pigs. Period. Right? Like you lying sacks of fucking shit. And see what happens is my fucking criminal record, which at that point, that was all pre-computer. But at this point, when any fucking cop can just pull up anything, they can just write whatever the fuck they want. Though, look what this cop said. Look what this cop said. Look what this cop said. I can literally say whatever the fuck I want about this guy and it's all lies. Look what this person said back here. She was lying. Look what this person, cops are saying, right? They were lying. Okay? Let's move on. So, now, 21, I think, and just driving down the road at like 2 o'clock in the morning with my buddy after a bar. These guys pull up next to us. They're like, hey, man, you guys got any weed? I'm like, I don't. Hey, you got any weed? It's like, yeah, we got a little bag. Oh, yeah, we got a little bag. Well, hey, pull over. The guy fucking goes and fucking grabs the bag of weed out of my buddy's hand and says, what are you going to do if I take it from you? So my buddy whips out a knife and says, wrong answer, motherfucker. Hands me that knife, whips out another knife, and we proceed to chase this motherfucker for like, his buddy in the car just leaves him. He runs like 15 feet or something like that, drops the bag of weed. I pick the bag of weed, put it up, and start going back. Way out the fucking way. I can see a cop coming way up the street. So throw the fucking knife, right? The fucking cop comes. He doesn't know anything. He just happens to be driving. But the fucking guy that left his buddy drives all the way back around now, comes up behind the fucking cop. And you know, oh, they got knives or some shit like that, right? So me and my buddy are standing there perfectly just like this. The cop's saying, don't move, don't move, don't move. Okay? And the fucking cop, James West, go fuck you. Beat your motherfucking punk ass if you fucking were any sort of fucking normal man. Let's get in the ring, bitch. Okay? So, this motherfucker, we're being fucking robbed by some fucking punk. And he comes up there and fucking says, don't move, don't move, don't move. And starts beating the fucking shit out of me and my friend with the fucking nightclub. My ribs misshapen to this fucking day. You can see that? Okay? Right? You see this fucking scar above my eye? See that scar? Okay? See that? That's from, don't move. Now I'm down on the ground. And stomps on my head. Stomps on, does the exact same thing to my friend. Stomps on both of our heads. Puts me in the fucking hospital. I was being fucking robbed. And of course, this fucking piece of shit, cop, James West, you fucking piece of shit. This motherfucker, oh, of course, he's, oh yeah, they tried to assault me. Lying sack of shit. Lying sack of shit. piece of shit cops. Liars. That's the fucking problem. Not the problem, the cops, the problem. Okay? Have I ever attacked anybody in my entire life? No. Not once. Not once. Not anyone in my entire life. Have I been in fights? Yes. Have I just attacked innocent people in my life? Never. Never. Have I been attacked by fucking cops over and over? Yeah. And lied about. And fucking scarred for life. Misshapen fucking ribs. Okay? Who's the criminal? Not me, bro. Not even fucking close. Let's proceed. Now I'm driving down the fucking road and I'm speeding. I step on my brakes. I just had my brakes done by a dude in his backyard. He didn't adjust the brakes right. I hit the brakes, the truck goes like this, goes up over a curb, hits a sign, right? Like, holy shit. Before then, I had not been speeding, okay? Cop sees it all, pulls me over, takes me in, blow the breathalyzer, okay. Not drunk, like 1 bar below. Oh, something, you gotta blow again. Now the shit's double. That seemed weird as fuck. And not until probably a decade later did the truth come out that the police had a way of basically you had to zero out the machine. If you didn't zero out the machine, it would just compound. Okay? So, another lying sack of shit cop. It's like I'm a fucking shit magnet for cops and shitty people as well. Okay? Let's move on. Okay, so I don't think after that, then I have the bank fraud. Okay, so huge story, and I've told this story before, and let's just boil it down to, number one, there wasn't any intent for any fraud, okay? I was doing loans for people so they could have money to start businesses, to buy weed, to start grow houses, to buy houses, all these things that these people didn't have enough money to do or the credit to get it done. I was selling them loans because I had people in the bank, okay? And I was making sure everybody was making my payments, their payments, right? The whole loss for like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of loans was $15,000, and that was the total of the loan that I had. I had a fictitious loan in a name that I was trying to build credit in, okay? But I only had like $4,000 or $5,000 out when the shit went down. I was keeping a balance and running it as to build credit, okay? Well, this one jealous asshole stole my fraudulent checks and then gave them to this other asshole. And then he went and wrote a bad check on my bad account, and that just started the ball rolling. Gabe Sonata, you piece of shit. And then he turns into a snitch. So there's a lot of his friends that were doing this. So all his friends get busted because of him, because he stole the checks and turned the checks over to Mike. And Mike went and bought the bad check. And that's what started the whole thing. Okay? Well, when the bank called me and just said, you need to bring all this money back right now, I freaked out. Well, it was only like $5,000, but the credit line was for $15,000. So the bank conveniently just lied and stuck it up to $15,000. When had they just had the check never been passed, the accounts there never would have been any fraud, because there never would have been any loss, because everybody was paying their bills because they just wanted to use the money for stuff that the type of people that I was getting these loans for really didn't have the ability to have the money like that. So, and a lot of it was weed related. Okay, well, this this is what happens when the government writes racist laws with racist intent. You end up with whole subsections of people trying to fight the government to make things right. And in the process, other shit kind of just gets wrapped up in it, you know? I mean, there was never any fraud intended. It was just to be able to access the money, all right? I was literally on pretrial release for that when I was doing all my huge marijuana smuggling, okay? And I was massive. Millions and millions and millions of dollars all the time for a long time. And the way I got busted was pretty random. An anonymous tip to my roommates, probation officers, telling them that he didn't live where he was saying he lived, okay? Now, I was there, but I hadn't been there. I was literally had 7 days or something, or 8 days left on my lease. I was in the process of getting out of there. I wouldn't even been there in a week. His buddy just let the probation officers just, come on in. So that's how I got busted on that. All right. And the most notable thing from that whole situation is how much money the cops actually just stole. Like, the cops stole over $300,000. I'm not talking about forfeited. I'm talking about stole. I'm talking about filled their little cargo pockets up and freaking walked outside and came back in with empty cargo pockets. And then the cargo pockets filled back up, and then they went back outside, and the cargo pockets came back in and were empty again. And I watched this for all these cops to the tune of $300,000. Now, there was still a couple $100,000 they left there for forfeiture, okay? Because the suitcase had almost $600,000 in it, all right? So, yeah. And this is the lies that created this cannabis is not a medicine, and the cops just get to steal everything. You know, this is more racist, 1933. The reason why most people call cannabis marijuana is because of this campaign in the 30s by the same prohibition morons that brought us all the previous prohibitions. They're just now we can focus this prohibition just on these Hispanic people, okay? Yeah. And then what? The cops just become rich for free, you know? It's a shit system. Somebody's got to stand up and say, look, we can do a lot better. And that's me. All this garbage has made me completely realize that the system is broken and we need to fix it. Bad. I shall progress. I wasn't out of damn jail, prison, or I just got out of the halfway house. This dude should not even have been in the apartment complex. He had received more complaints than you could receive and still live there per the landlord's rules. So because there was two landlords and some people were reporting him to this landlord, some people were reporting him to this landlord, they never got together and discussed anything. So I merely go over, this guy at 11 or 12 o'clock at night has got his stereo cranked. I go over there, defend myself, basically in this little area, get attacked and just fall down on the fucking guy in his own place. And now all of a sudden I'm almost back for 7 fucking years in prison. Because this guy's saying that I was, or they're twisting it to say that I was because I was trying to get him to turn his stereo down or something like that, which I was lawfully trying to get his stereo, because I went to trial. And listen how bad this prosecutor was, because there was another occasion where the guy was passed out, his door was open, me and another neighbor on we should have just called the cops, but you don't call the cops when you're just fresh out of prison, because every single contact is paperwork, okay? So you don't call the cops, okay? So, and she could call the cops, but she didn't want to call the cops. So we went into his apartment and turned his stereo down and made sure this dude was on his stomach so he didn't puke and die. You know, he was passed out drunk with a half bottle. I mean, this guy was a drunk. And he was only like 20-something years old, and just a pass out drunk. Music to blaring, like distorted, like he passed out to, I don't even know. This asshole almost got me, like I said, another 7 years in prison after I just got out of 7 years in prison. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And it was not my fault. He shouldn't even have been there. Okay? And then I defended myself, but I still got a fucking assault, whatever the lowest assault, which is, Oregon is such a pussy-ass state. Like, you can't even defend yourself. You literally can't. If you defend yourself now, all of a sudden, you're the fucking criminal. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. Really. And the cops lie. Like, fucking crazy. And they make up the stupidest fucking laws. I mean, this system is just fucking garbage. Irredeemable garbage. Unbelievably garbage. So, now, I think the next thing, yeah, this, a restraining order. So, I had a girlfriend trying to sue her because she had fucked around and almost fucked up my house purchase. Trying to buy a house, co-signed a car for her. Long story short, we had an argument once where she fucking put her hands up in my face like this. I caught them and put her on the couch. Literally, this was the fucking move. From here to there. The couch, the back was here, and the cushions were there. Bam, done. She's over there. I can now stay away. Now that I know that she's trying to fucking hit me in the face, I can just keep away from her. And she didn't try it again because, like, I got skills. Like, you gonna hit me in the face, it's not gonna be easy. So now that was like 8 months later. So she fucking files a restraining order. Completely full of lies. To the point where she's put my business at risk by saying we have a wall of prop guns, which are either guns that used to be real and then were taken apart. The barrels were filled with like epoxy. All the important parts are not there anymore. So we have those, and then we have airsoft. A wall, like a giant wall of them, right? Everybody knows they're fake. Like, how the freaking Baldwin accident happened is beyond me. Like, who even has real guns on set at all? And then who even has any, like, that is so moronic to me. I can't even believe it. Like, actors and real guns, like, are you a moron? Period. So, and I can't even be around real guns. So, what kind of person in their real mind would have a giant of machine guns and just like the crazy, you know what I'm saying? Of course, in her thing was like, oh, maybe some of them are real, I don't know, or something like that. So now she's put my business at risk of being like invaded by SWAT teams and shit. Because I'm trying to sue her to teach her a fucking lesson. When you make an agreement and people go out of their way and then you don't fill your agreement, then you're going to get sued. It was like $1,100 and it was the point more than the money. I had pulled this girl up out of poverty and she had just been fucking... Anyway, so this is the story of the piece of shit judge. He literally was... I went in there with a witness and proved she was lying, and he could care less. My biggest mistake, I didn't even bother getting a lawyer. I'm like, she's lying right here. I can prove she's lying. That's the end of that. Oh, no. Not for this piece of shit fucking Clackamas County judge. This motherfucker has lived in a fantasy world his entire fucking life. He's went from fucking schools and churches and schools and fucking being a lawyer. I mean, just a fantasy world living motherfucker. Probably nobody's ever even breathed hard in his direction, let alone ever, like his parents probably never kicked his ass. He probably doesn't ever been in one even slap, nothing. How the fuck can you judge people if you ain't never lived fucking life? Okay? You don't let people fucking punch you in the face, you punk ass judge. Boom, caught her fucking fist. Boom, she's on the couch. Nobody got hurt. I didn't get hurt. She didn't get hurt. Oh, but I'm a fucking... Give me a break. This is more... The system is a piece of fucking shit. So he gives me the ability to sue her because that's all I'm fucking there for. Fine, it says right in the restraining order I can sue her. She claims bankruptcy, names me as a fucking bankruptier. My rights as a bankruptier is that I can go to her bankruptcy. I went to her bankruptcy as per I could, sat in another room, nailed her for lying to the fucking court about her possessions. She was leaving out all her high-end shit that she was buying instead of paying her bills. And I let them know that. Well, she promptly went down to the fucking police department and lied, and those stupid fucking assholes at the police department never bothered to fucking take 2 seconds to read the restraining order, see that I had the right to fucking be at that fucking meeting. No, they just put a fucking warrant out for me. That shit goes for 2 years, never hear a fucking thing. And believe it or not, I had called the cops at one point because somebody shot a gun in my neighborhood. And I called the cops, 2 cops show up, I'm like, blah, blah, blah. They didn't say I had a fucking warrant. So now, these fascist, Proud Boy, Oath Keeper, just scumbag humans that have been fucking with Portland for months and months with their damn horseshit fucking, and they're flying from around the country to come fuck with Portland, one of the most beautiful, top-rated cities in the whole country for years after years after years after years until that fucking punk Trump takes over and his thug fascist anti-American pieces of shit come to our fucking city and start shit. I am walking down the sidewalk on my way to the protest, not even there yet, with my fucking sign that says Trump is a traitor and has his head on a spike, like it should be. I knew he was a piece of shit from day one. Okay? I get jumped by a mob of punk-ass fucking cops walking down the fucking sidewalk. Okay? You can have a pocket knife that is an automatic pocket knife as long as it's clipped in your pocket and they can see it. These dumbass cops see the knife, take the knife, flip. You saw the fucking knife. You can have the knife. That's how you took the knife. Oh, now I'm being arrested for having a knife. That's not the law, you fucking dumbass punk cops. Okay? Do you see why I have zero respect for the fucking system? Because the system has done nothing but lied, beat me up, robbed me, lied, tuned the machine, didn't fucking delete the machine. Sure, I've been pulled over by cops that have acted like normal people. I've had exchanges. But look, I got cops out here. These motherfuckers just ignore my no trespassing signs. In essence, walk up into my living room, ignoring all kinds of fucking laws, just to give me some fucking paperwork. Some legal being sued paperwork. Like they ignore all these laws, because we have to deliver your paperwork. And then, when questioned, why are you on my property? They play dumb. They literally act dumb. Like, the no trespassing sign is on my address sign. You can't verify you're in the correct place without looking at a no trespassing sign. So to say you didn't see the trespassing sign is moronic, and you're plain stupid. And how am I supposed to respect anybody who defaults to plain dumb? and is akin to just nothing but a bunch of freaking liars. Have been lying about me my entire effing life. I have never in my life not even breathed, I've never even been rude to a cop. Not ever even been rude. Think about that, motherfuckers. I have never even been rude to a cop. I have and this shit gets infected every once in a while in my skull. Okay? This was skull breaking shit here. These ribs are misshapen, and I've never even been rude to a cop. Okay? Are you starting to get the big picture? And here's what I say to all cops watching this. Fuck off. Go. Pew. Do something else. Go find real criminals. Leave me the fuck alone, because I am fucking sick of you people. All you do is lie, steal, and beat me up. You're a bunch of fucking pieces of shit. Trying to entrap me on shit that's just fucking insane. Because you guys are dumb and you think stupid shit. Fine. I'm not a criminal at all. I don't want to kill anyone. I don't want to attack anyone. I just want to live a nice fucking life and be left the fuck alone by fucking fascist fucking cops. Is that too much to ask? Because everything these fucking cops think about me is a fucking lie that some other cop wrote.
Fuck the police coming straight from the underground.
Emotional damage!
This is part 2 of 15 years of police harassment because I actually forgot some things. I had to make a list. These are all unscripted videos and I had to make a list. That's like a script nearly. Wow. I had this doctor get a hold of me, right? And he was definitely something going on there that was just like, bruh, you know, something. And in his case, I don't think he was maybe not law enforcement, but maybe like one of these people who had gotten busted. And they're like, well, we need you to blah, 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 you know? So, and it was just all weird, which is, a lot of this is weird. When I have as much I know for a fact, then the weirds become high potential for just the same old cops being stupid, trying to bust me over ridiculous shit, right? Trying to question me without question me, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so there's that guy. Then, for a while, I was whitewater rafting. Oh, it was so much fun. I bought a whitewater kayak. Actually, I bought the whitewater kayak with the money that the doctor dude sent me. Yeah, he sent me like $1,000. Like, here, I'm your fan. Okay. So whitewater kayaking, like, it's a pain in the butt because you got to have 2 cars, right? And it's like, a lot of times people go up in groups and they fucking, you know, they drink and they do all this shit and they hang out and they have lunch and they craft down and right? And what could take this much time takes this much time, right? I'm just going for the core, fun, hit it, done, smoke some weed, have a snack, you know. I'm not, you know, and I'm working so much that I literally just don't have time to make plans and do all this shit. So I'm just going up there and hitchhiking up, going down, getting my car and split, right? And I've been doing this for a while and loving it. Well, there was one couple that picked me up and they were sus, probably FBI. And it's like, it's a lot of this I go on kind of a aura thing. Like, normal humans kind of put out an aura that is detectable by me. Cops, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, they don't. Like, there's some blockage or something missing. It's just weird. And it's like a feeling. And I go a lot of my, because I'm tuned in. So a lot of this is feeling. And, you know, I mean, part of it is like questions people ask, you know? He's like, oh, that was a weird question. You know what I'm saying? And this CNN crew shows up to my house. And it's like, bro, you're here to fucking do a story? Then where's your fucking cameras? Why aren't you fucking asking me? No, they're there trying to convince me that my fucking sign was some kind of problem. Because back in medieval days, they used insanely long poles like that to stop charges from horses. I mean, literally, you can't write this shit. I mean, the fucking guys are just like, you know, I mean, when you live your whole life of just being fucking scared of everything, then everything looks like a fucking weapon you need to be scared of. But when you're a fucking creative person and you make a huge ass sign, it's just a huge ass sign. I'm not trying to battle fucking Maidan horse, you know, it would have been the worst weapon in the entire world, okay? And I've gone to fucking protests 100 times with giant signs, huge signs, like on extreme telephone. There's all kinds of pictures with me with my money out of politics signs at all the Occupy stuff in Portland, okay? I'm all about big signs, and they know it, all right? So, CIA or FBI, whoever the fuck is infiltrated CNN and can come do a fucking story without pulling out a camera, a book, or nothing to write nothing down. Don't ask me no real questions about nothing, you know? Yeah, sus. So then we have, right when I was coming out here to start a farm, I had a invention. I'll blink it here, right? And I was on the phone with JB Weld's owner, and we had signed NDA agreements and had been talking for weeks, and then all of a sudden, just nothing. No return phone calls, no response. And it was like, okay, I'm going to talk to the engineers and the blah, blah, blah. I'll get back to you in 10 days. And then just nothing. Now, that could have been whatever, but it's super weird that somebody would just not be like, I'm not interested or whatever. Ask a final question, like if they thought, you know, but just bam, nothing. And that would be along the lines of, you know, they don't want, like trying to keep me down. That is what their motivation is. Like, oh my God, he just came up with this invention. He could make a ton of money. And this guy, he wants to get rid of cops over an 80-year period. Yeah, pure evil, bro. Right? And I can just see this cop that's been for 15 years, right? And he is just fucking like this and just so pissed and on his knees at the edge of his bed every night, praying to the baby Jesus. Oh, please, baby Jesus, let me bust Guda this year. Oh, just a pathetic fucking retard this guy is. And then, see, this is the vision I have of you. The one you that's the you. My audience, I hope you understand what I'm saying. But then I also have a vision of this other cop, and he just happens to be black in my head, right? And he's been literally laughing at all the other cops the whole time. Like saying, oh, you guys are totally wrong. Oh, yeah. And calling them idiots and all that stuff. He may or may not exist, but these are the entertaining parts of this story, okay? So, I shall now continue. Okay, so when the protests were going on in Portland, I went to Prineville for whatever reason. I used to go to town once to Prineville, once to Bend in a week. Typical week would be 1 and 1, okay? So I was in my typical Prineville, and the guy at the gas station gets a phone call. Now he's on the fucking phone going, and he comes over, he's like, yeah, they're having a riot at the Tasty Freeze, yeah, on Saturday, yeah, they close it, right? And I'm just like, what the fuck is this moronic bullshit? Are you kidding me right now? So the cops are on the phone with the dude at the gas station telling him to tell me there's going to be a riot in Prineville. Like, oh, good, I'm going to just run down there. I've said nothing but nice things about Prineville, the little town. I mean, it's actually very nice. They got a park that runs through the town. They got cool stuff for kids to do. Now, I don't know how many kids actually live within the close distance to enjoy all that. But but now I don't even go to Prineville anymore. So when I realized what the cops were doing right there, then, and what this means to the businesses in Prineville is just a loss of revenue because of your overreaching of policing, okay? So the police are just like, I want to get that guy. Oh yeah, tell him that's right. Tell him that's right. Yeah, we're going to get him, right? Because I believe we need to take some of the money we give to the cops and give it to mental health. So when you call up 911, you got, hi, this is 911, police, fire, medical, mental, right? And just take some of the police money, right? Because people who think that police are the solution to everything aren't smart people at all. If you just keep wanting to add jobs and add jobs and add jobs and create new criminals, like, oh, hey, now this person's a criminal. Hey, police, go put him in jail. Oh, we're going to write this law. Now this person's a criminal. Hey, police, go put him in jail. Oh, hey, these people are doing this. Hey, police. You are not a smart person. You do not deserve to be listened to, okay? Let's reserve police for important shit, for the sickos that are kidnapping small children. Yeah. I will never be able to, and all I did was read the fucking story. We need to create a world where this doesn't happen. And I have outlined all that in my, and people might be like, oh, that's like some communist manifesto. And let me just address that for 1 second. At what point does the technology have to get before we can switch from scarcity to abundance? Which is all I'm advocating for, is abundance versus scarcity. Because we can do it with the technology we have. But if you want to call it communism and demify a technological advance, like, is robots building people's shit? Is that communism? Oh yeah, if the robots are building shit and it's benefiting everybody instead of just one rich person, yeah, that's then communism? I mean, okay. So, no, a resource-based economy is not some communism and not trying to, I think I've made that quite clear, that it has to be a peaceful transition to the next phase, and all the communism stuff has just been dictators. Right-wing dictators, left-wing dictators, they're dictators. And dictators are a horrible way to go down. Police state, dictators, it all goes hand in hand. So we don't want that. Was right after this pandemic started, I was out here and I had so much work to do. And I was like, you know what? If I could get a production assistant out here once a week to help me do whatever, I can probably get my production level up a little bit, get views up. This was what I was thinking, right? And so I posted on Craigslist. And again, Craigslist, there's cops just sitting there on their ass all day on Craigslist thinking they're doing fucking work, right? So about 5 seconds after I post this, I get hit up by this girl. And it was weird because she pretty much just wanted to move in. And I was just like, okay, because, it's like, damn, the world is falling apart, and I can help somebody out, I guess. But I got her out here, right? And like in the first couple days, now the analogy here is, when stepping on the Lego, okay? So I stepped out of the container onto a plug and fell into a fan and just cut the living shit out of myself. I mean, I was bleeding arterial blood. I have like 3 holes, okay? And I don't know about the people watching this, but when I hurt myself very bad, it makes me upset. And I picked up the broken fan that had blades broken on it, knowing that all, like, once you break the blades off a fan, it's garbage. And I tossed it because I was in excruciating pain. And what was this girl's response to that? Not like, oh my God, are you okay? Let me help you stop the bleeding. No, nothing like that. It was, are you a sociopath? What? What? So at that point, I was most definitely had my fucking eye on this chick. Like, something's wrong with her. No normal people see you hurt yourself, see you bleeding, and then think that's sociopathic behavior. And then she was just like not helpful at all. Like, and just sitting around all the time, like doing nothing. And then there was somebody living at the end of the street at the same time, which was, I'm assuming, was the other part of the crew that she was a part of, because once she was gone, they were gone. And then somebody put up a thing on the property that literally just, there was a lot of weird shit going on out here, but that was super weird because somebody just dropped a shack out here and was just living in it, and then they were just gone. Like when I dropped her off in Hood River, right? So I have to assume that that was kind of this whole like operation or whatever. And I just like, man, they are just pissing away money on epic level. I mean, having people out here and pissing my money away too. I was looking for somebody to come out here once a week, and now I have somebody out here just sitting on their ass, consuming my food, not doing a thing, not helping. And see, this is the way I test people, right? I test people by working, because that's the true test of a person. Do you work? Do you get busy? Do you help out? Do you see somebody that's doing something? Do you help them? Do you see a problem? Do you fix it? That's the kind of person I am. And the cops, they're like, no, I'm just going to sit here on my ass and be a complete useless fucking person and just poke and poke and poke and poke and see what happens. Like, okay, see ya. Thanks for wasting my time and my money. Back in like 2010, a model that I worked with said that, and she did who knows what on the side, you know, models do all kinds of crazy shit on the side. So she's like, hey, I don't remember what she said about this guy, but basically the guy wanted to meet me and kind of a partner person that I worked with on this project, right? And it was just like, and the only reason that I was like, okay, was because it was literally like one of the top 5 restaurants in Portland. I mean, this dude dropped like $1,000 or $500. I don't even remember, because it's like 13 years ago, right? But it was super bizarre, the whole situation. And I can only imagine, you know, going to work as a cop and, oh yeah, like I gotta go hang out with this model so I can go talk to these guys without saying I'm, you know, I mean, it's just like the amount of money these dipshits have pissed away because some fucking other cop's a lying sack of shit is disgusting. I mean, it is fucking disgusting. The level of this shit that I've described over these 2 videos is just disgusting. And it gets worse. So I'm going, like I was using this one dispensary, and they fired the manager there. That was like, I was pretty friendly. I was just about ready because like there's no good birria, taco birria, queso birria, tacos in Bend. I've tried 3 different places. They all suck. So I make better birria than all the places in Bend. And one was $10 for one taco. So I was trying to get this manager dude to be in a video. I was going to go around and just like, he's a Hispanic dude and a white dude, go clown all these freaking birria places. I thought it'd be really funny. So I was in there all the time and he was fired. So I was like, they fired that dude over some just BS. So I bailed out of there, long story short. So now I'm looking for another dispensary around town, and like I'm just getting like jackasses at the dispensaries and the quality and all this shit, and I'm just going around looking, right? And I'm leaving reviews. So I go into this other one, and this female woman is working there, and she's like, she starts talking about the junipers and the sage just out of freaking. I'm like, that's pretty random. Like I linked the whole playlist here. Okay, so I've been on this, the land mismanagement out here where I'm at is epically moronic. And they have destroyed millions of acres with ignorance. And nobody wants to do anything about it. Nobody wants to report on it. I've talked to 3 real people in 2 years that know and are on the same level that I am when it comes to this whole, it's a grasslands that have been degraded, la. Okay, so now I'm standing here and this woman just randomly starts talking about the junipers and say, holy shit, how random is that, right? Oh yeah. I'm like, God, I got a YouTube channel with a whole fucking playlist about this kind of shit, right? And she's, oh really? Oh, give me your fucking information. Okay, so I scribble down my YouTube channel there, and I don't see every time I get a subscriber, but sometimes I do. I see that night I got a subscriber. I looked at her channel. She had like 1 or 2 videos. And I watched the video, and I'm like, she's a fucking cop. This fucking video is some kind of cop shit to do with fucking Craigslist. I'm constantly talking about how fucking cops are wasting our tax money, sitting on their asses on Craigslist all day, right? And that's what her fucking video's about. I was like, what the fuck? And then I go in the same weed store like the following week. And there's another woman in there in the same spot the other woman was. And she starts talking about junipers and sage. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Literally, in 2 years, no one has ever randomly said anything. And quite the contrary. When I talk to people about this, a lot of them look at me like I'm crazy. A lot of them look at me like, who the fuck cares? A lot of them, like when I'm online, think I'm trying to fucking advertise my YouTube channel or some shit. Like, people are just not smart enough or empathetic enough to understand that some people give a shit about saving the planet, but as, for the record, I think we're too late. We're fucked. But anyway, I move on. So, for the fact of 2 women, people, to sit in the same damn spot and say the same damn thing 1 week apart, I'm like, there is motherfucking cops in this dispensary trying to, I don't know what. I mean, talk to me about the fucking grass. Like, see, and that's the thing, know that this is something I've been working on forever, and they're all so fucking stupid. Like, cops are too dumb to even understand that entire playlist. Like, their intellect is just not high enough to get it. They're right? I don't know what they're trying to do, and I don't give a fuck. I do care that I'm constantly being bothered by fucking retards, but you're a fucking retard. You think stupid shit. Go away, fucking retards, you know? That's pretty much. All right. So now this is like the the holy cow. So I had the arson fire, and I've said in previous videos, I suspect that there is some kind of connection with the police to do with that, okay? So I lose everything. I've had an iPhone since they're new. I used iCloud for a little while until I started growing my business with Macs. I had all these Macs, and there's no real good directions for how to set up a Mac network. Apple is pretty much like for just somebody to buy their stuff and they have their things, right? To do a whole entire company of Mac stuff is really, it was hard. It was a lot of work, right? Well, during that process, I started seeing my text messages show up on work computers, okay? This whole iCloud thing, okay? So I stopped using iCloud in like 11 or 12, okay? And I've always done local backups religiously. No big deal. Well, I lost everything in the fire. My local backups, $2 million worth of cryptocurrency, plus, you know, my cat, all this stuff, right? All my data, except for this window, or actually from the iCloud that I had set up back in 11 or 12 or whenever that was, back to whenever, that information is what I got, which was like all old phone numbers, right? Well, I have a note on my phone from right before the fire, which is absolutely impossible for it to be on my phone. I lost everything on my phone, okay? Except from like whenever I turned off iCloud back. So 12, it could have been 13 maybe, okay? So that means from 12 or 13 all the way up to January 31st of 2020, all that is gone. Poof, okay? So how do I have a note from, I believe, and I'm going to show it right here in a second, from like November or something like this of 19, right? That takes some real high level shit. That means that they're constantly downloading the information on my phone. Whatever I put on my phone, they take that for probably ever, okay? Now they have all my shit, okay? Then they had to go back and they went through and decided to put one. I actually made a video asking the NSA to give me all my data back. Because as we know from Snowden, they're collecting all our metadata. Now, that's metadata. But I'm positive in my case, they're just taking whatever. Because cops have been lying about me for years. And they're like, oh God, this guy's like Magneto or something like that in these pea-brain cops' brains, right? No, I'm like the nicest person ever that just keeps getting fucked over by piece of shit humans. Like, I'm a really nice fucking human that just seems to attract the worst fucking humans. Like, cops or otherwise. And meanwhile, I'm like going out of my way to help people. Constant examples of me trying to help people. But they funding, oh yeah, I'm a fucking cash cow for these fucking pigs. Okay? That's the real. How much funding they get to fucking sit there and go through all my fucking shit. Okay? It's disgusting. It really is. Because when you look at, we've had like 30,000, as of a couple weeks ago, we've had 30,000 murders this year in this country. Yeah. And you know how much money the cops are spending on fucking looking in my phone, watching my YouTube videos, putting fucking undercover cops into fucking dispensaries? I mean, it's more, we just had a fucking mass shooting in goddamn Bend. Do these dumbass motherfuckers that are spending all their time fucking worrying about me, they're literally like, people are actually killing people and doing all this shit. And no, they're like spending hundreds of thousands of dollars because they want to steal from me again. This is the motivation, okay? This is why the cop did the bullshit with the breathalyzer. Because as soon as a cop gets somebody on drunken driving, their fucking pay goes up 50% for the time that they're dealing with that drunken driving, which it's just like a chunk of money they basically get handed by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Back at that time, I don't know if this is still a deal or not, but in those days, so cops had motivation to lie and to manipulate people into drunken drivings that they weren't actually guilty of. Was I guilty of fucking speeding and reckless driving? Yeah. Was I guilty of drunken driving? No. Okay. But I have this drunken driving, and that cop got money for that. Okay. And all the money the cops, right? This is a fucking problem. Okay. In the drug war now, because right now, the only fucking thing cops are paying attention to is where they might be able to steal big sacks of money, right? They're not paying attention to the pedos. They're not paying attention to the mass shooters, because those people don't have money, okay? The drugs in the pharmacies ends the financing of the gangs. But as we saw with Prohibition, those gangs are going to transfer into like kidnapping and all this heinous shit. Well, let's get that on with now so we can get that over with and get on to sanity. Because that's really what needs to happen. Because the police forces are completely corrupted. They've always been corrupted since day one, as I've shown. This has never been an organization or a concept to make society a better place. It's an organizations of repression, okay? Lying, stealing, robbing, all right? That's my fucking reality of police, okay? And attempted to kill me, because the whole arsonist thing out here that I'm pretty positive was initiated by police contact, by a police from here pointing me out saying, oh, that guy's a big deal, to an actual criminal out here, because I'm not an actual criminal. I'm not actually at all, okay? I went to prison for weed smuggling. The government is a criminal for letting Nixon create a drug war and doubling and tripling down on it and thinking that's how you're going to freaking have a good society, okay? That's the criminal. And to know that your entire organization, lawyers, cops, judges, right, lie incessantly. I mean, I've just been disgusted by this shit. I've had a fucking lawyer fall asleep in court. I mean, and again, the only thing I've ever been in trouble for is for shit that should not be out illegal in the first place. It's because of ignorance and racism. All right? So I'm not a criminal by any stretch of the imagination. The people going after me, the people that have lied, that lie all the time, that are making up lies, running around telling people who knows what kind of lies. I mean, I'm almost positive that the cops have talked to people around where I live and told them straight up fucking lies about me just because they don't want people thinking that I'm a good person, because they are so under their skin with me that they are just, and it's like, yeah, you live in a fantasy world in religion. A lot of these people are religious, living in a fantasy world, right? And then the law is, again, another fantasy world, is a constructed thing. Normal people all have, like, right and wrong, okay? It's not that complicated. But when you just keep adding things into the pile and just keep creating more and creating criminals that are just normal people, right? That, by lying and by stealing and by being corrupt, I mean, we just see this time and time and time and time again. I've seen it my whole life. I've been pulled over by cops that were just fine and had no, cops have come to my door, but they come to my door in twos because other cops have lied about me, and so they're scared. But then they come and we talk and there's no problems and everything's fine, right? So this is the reality. So, and this is like, cops, you lie. So why the fuck do you act like you're reading the truth when you read what some other liar cop wrote down? That's the reality of my record. I don't have time for lies, liars, or unfactual or fantasy shit. If I'm writing a movie to try to make money, yeah, I'll write about fantasy and all this shit. No big deal. But in the real world, that's all I'm about, is facts. Facts and more facts. The reality, okay? And the reality is we've got a criminal justice system that is corrupt AF, that's full of racists, fascists, liars, unsavory people that have glommed their way into power for no other reason than power and control, okay? And it's a very dangerous situation, very dangerous. I'm making this video because if just some random shit, because they want to steal more shit. That's what they're all about. I've been robbed by cops for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and these other cops are like, oh, I want to get mine. So I make these videos out of protection for myself and for posterity. Okay? Because this needs to be told. Okay? Because the world needs to understand that the way things are now isn't the way they've always been. And we can do better. Okay? And better is not having more cops to catch all those criminals. Better is to make a world that nobody becomes a criminal. Peace.